situations where the judiciary are the one electing our officers. It's no longer a situation where the electoral process ends with INEC. Rather, when INEC is done calling out the supposed winners, they will tell whoever is aggrieved to go to court. And is that the right way to go? Where we would have to not trust in the agency giving that privilege and the right to conduct our election. What is INEC? Independent National Electoral Commission. Meaning that they are, one, independent, two, they are national, and if they are independent, they have authority to see to it that our election is reliable and trustworthy. And if it's national, means that they are everywhere and should be naturally and justifiably accepted by every Nigerians. Their words should be seen to be sacrosanct. But a situation where there is doubt, trust issues, begins to tell you that there are greater issues at play here. But the greater emphasis is, why have our elections, yes, we know we've journeyed from 1999, our return to democracy to date. Some may argue that ballot snatching is no longer as prevalent as it was in 1999, where during election is like war cry, where you will see people begin to live. For example, you begin to see tribal migration, where, for example, Easterners domiciled in the north will begin to move towards the east, and you see Southwesterners domiciled in the east begin to move back to the west. So some may argue that we've moved away from that, but why have we moved into even a greater malaise, where the judiciary are the one who decide who wins or who goes into office, where INEC will tell us go to the court, and where we see interpretations that people are beginning to shout that they are questionable, where we've seen where the court decided that somebody who came last or fourth in an election ends up becoming a governor. And people are saying, how did we arrive at such a judgment? It happens. We've seen where the court has decided a lot of issues. Even the present federal administration that we have was decided upon by the courts. And we are saying that democracy is not a government of the people by the judiciary for the people. No, it's a government of the people that is seen to be what? For the people. And pro-people. Simply put, this is what we call government by accredited representative. If you don't have that accreditation, if you don't have that reputation of having the people's mandate, whatever you will do throughout that tenure will be called to question. And that's what's happening in Nigeria. Remember, I can categorically cite certain individuals who have refused to date to recognize this very government on the premise that it was the judiciary that trusted them upon Nigeria, not because they won the election, though their opinion. But like I always say, whoever that should go to equity with clean hands. If a leader is going to emerge in such a way that it will be agreed by all. Yes, this person won the election, and not the courts calling us or telling us that, interpreting what they assume to be, because the courts we are not in the field is reported, or what they were given that they will decide upon. But INEC that is in the field should be accountable. That's what this call is for. INEC should be accountable for whatever happens. And going forward, how many persons have INEC come out to prosecute anybody? We always see INEC siding the lines of those who they've proclaimed winners, irrespective of what transpired at the field, whatever the opposing party is bringing to the table. INEC will always take the side of whatever they've read out as election results. So this cause, these outcries are for us to have an electoral reform, that will see that things are done the proper way. Let us know what the modalities for an elections are, not a situation where new modalities come out after the election. Let us know the yardstick for conducting an election. If you tell us that we are going to use beavers, then let it be law that any result that is not emanating from beavers is not acceptable. If we are going to use option A4, let it be known across Nigeria that what we are going to use is option A4.
Yeah.
In the area of technology, one would expect and should expect that by now INEC has a better technology that would help ensuring transparency in our election, and they should follow suit with that.
Okay.
It's as if when you're giving the by-election that has happened, the off-season election that we've had, you will see that it's as if we're returning to 1999 election formats, where elections are done manually. Why are we returning to that era? This is an INEC that has conducted an election that this whole nation has come out to give a thumbs up, retrogressing. Why is that? So this cause by this eminent individual is quite germane, and the call for electoral reform can no longer be overflowed. It's quite time that we'll have a genuine, sincere electoral reform that is encompassing, that will ensure trust and accountability from the part of INEC, through reliability on the part of opposition political party. And until we have that, I will tell you that our elections will be marred with crisis.
Yeah.
Yes. So all this cause is germane. And in Nigeria celebrating 65, these are one of the issues that will have to be seen to be resolved. So that when we turn 66, let's say that it's been resolved, and we'll no longer see headlines like this for more prominent individual. I can bet you, and I can tell you categorically, that if we don't resolve these issues, 5 years from today, 2031, you may see other names different from Amechi, Obi, and co. Calling for the same thing. This shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
So we should see to it that, yes, when the president tells us that the worst is over, let it be that the worst is equally over on electoral reform.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So we are urging the federal government, or rather also the INEC, that there should be transparency and not everything being decided by the courtroom, since democracy is for the people. Now, moving over to our next headline from the Guardian headline that says, leaders call for reforms on poverty, insecurity, faltering democracy. And this headline is reporting that widespread calls from political, religious, and civic leaders demanding structural reforms in Nigeria as the nation marks 65 years of independence. And the key demands and observations are where leaders warn that poverty is deepening and many Nigerians are struggling under economic policies that have increased cost of living. And also there's the matter of insecurity, which remains a major concern, with attacks, kidnapping, and banditry undermining development and safety. I would like to know your take on this headline that says leaders call for reforms on poverty, insecurity, faltering democracy.
All right. Given that we are still in celebrative mood, it's our 65 year as a nation. We've covered a milestone. It's a reflective period, and calls like this from leaders is not unexpected, right? Yes. We expect them to call for reforms, and we as a nation, we expect to see improvement. We don't expect to see us being stagnant, like witnessing the same issues that plagued us as a nation when we were 60. At 65, we expect that we have done better, more than what was obtainable 5 years ago. And today at 65, seeing Nigerian leaders, eminent leaders, calling for reforms in areas of poverty, security, and all that, even in democracy, is not unexpected. But when we take a greater look at it, for me, this shouldn't be the issue of, because when you go back, you will see that over the years, you will see leaders, opposing leaders more especially, flogging any government in power. Like I did mention, if you go back, go to the archives and see, you will see even the present administration on a day like this, on periods like this, flogging the ruling government to do better, calling for reforms here and there. It shouldn't be a mantra that we embark on. We should appreciate whatever government has done, acknowledge what they've done, then encourage them to do more.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be because you're in opposition, you wouldn't see anything good in what government has done.
Okay.
No. Why you acknowledge that they are trying, that there more is needed, acknowledge them for that. And
Yeah.
then not just calling, not just calling for changes, for improvement, profile solution. What are you bringing to the table? And this is where I have issues with a lot more of them. Now, when I take a critical look at that, for example, I am not trying to say no, but what I'm saying is, for example, who are these leaders? If they are leaders, yes, granted, these are our leaders. They have been at the helm of affairs at one point in time or the other. So, cite for us from your own example what you did while you were there. So, when you critique, profile solution. Don't stop at critiquing a sitting government. Profile solution. Tell them where they've gone wrong. Then point them to what they should do to remedy the situation. My issue is that criticism should not just be for the sake of it, but should have solutions, workable solutions for that. For example, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, in his speech, said acceptably that the reality of citizens is in contradiction from what this government claims.
Yeah.
Granted. But former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, I ask, was once a vice president in this nation.
Yeah.
What was he like during their tenure? What happened? Did they do better? Or are we still seeing same tendencies? This is where I raise it. So going beyond telling us that the reality of Nigerians, which is very germane, I give it to him. Yes, the reality of Nigerians when you interact and ask questions could be contradictory depending on every individual, what every individual feels and witnesses. But the issue is, what solutions do you have on ground? Your solution shouldn't be only when you're campaigning for an office you give us. You should be able to advise the government because you're an elder statesman too.
Yeah, and you also, I think you're also partaking from the country.
We are all responsible.
Yeah.
You are Nigerians. It shouldn't be only when you're in government that seems to work. That's my position on that. Okay. But given the calls they've made, yes, are these calls germane? Yes. But my question is, for example, let me take the opposition leaders, for example, who, yes, who love what they do. They have to put the government on their toes. But the likes of Mr. P2B, the likes of Atiku Abubakar, the likes of Rotimi Amechi, the chairman of ADC, former Senate President David Mark, former governor of Sokoto State, Alhaji Tambuwa, the former governor of Kaduna State. I think these are the opposition figures. Arebo Shola, what did you do while you were in office? Did you leave the space better than you meet it? These are the questions. So it shouldn't be opposition for the sake of opposition. Yes, we know that these governments, we can't give them 100%. But the point here is that it shouldn't all be criticism all the time. Point them to order. Let's see solutions, practical, workable solutions. Not critiquing every time. We know that it's the job of the opposition to keep government in check, but give kudos where they've done well. Yes, I for one, I do not give this government a pass mark. I may not score them 70, but I commend them where they've made wonderful strides, and that's what I expect on a day like this. There are days when, yes, though we will have to, be retrospective and all that, but there are days that we'll have to celebrate. Yeah. Yes, in as much as we'll say that the nation has retrogressed, there is decay, given where our founding fathers took us from and where they were taking us from. A lot of analysts have made us realize what Nigeria was when it was working for everybody and what it is now. Granted, but where are we headed as a nation? The leaders, are you pointing us to the right direction where we need to be? And I must tell you that all these leaders are those who have enjoyed the best of Nigeria. What are they leaving for future Nigerians? Granted that a certain Nigerians have suffered a whole lot of injustice, being that Nigeria has not worked for them, being that the way Nigeria has functioned has made them lose faith in this nation, giving rise to what we know as the Japa syndrome. A lot of our young ones, intelligent, talented, hardworking youths are running away from this country because our leaders has failed them. Without exception. Yes. However, when I look at their course on economic reforms, are they germane? Yes. I, for one, agree that this government is overtaxing Nigerians. I am against the introduction of 5% petroleum tax that will take effect from January. I, for one, I oppose it. I do not see why the suffering masses will have to pay more. For me, the poor are subsidizing the rich in Nigeria, and it shouldn't be that way. So, in the area of economic reforms, yes, I feel that our reforms should have a human face. And that's when I see this government, that's what I will tell them. And that's what I tell them daily. That reforms, though good, but should have a human face. Now, talking about economic reforms, we realize that we've removed subsidy. And we are celebrating the fact that he has made more funds available.
Hello, I'm Debra Wakoba. I am Chidimike Mede.
I am Uche Osai.
I'm Chiwendo Ifeonwankwe.
My name is Obobina Samson.
Please keep watching Aneke TV, or you can visit us on our socials like Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, or YouTube, all at Aneke TV.
This is Aneke TV. We move with the world.
Good afternoon and welcome to the news at 3 on Aneke TV. First, the headlines. U.S. warns Nigeria over attacks on Christians. Pengassan warns strike may resume. Gunmen rob ex-Ogun local government chairman. Kwara residents reject alleged deployment of armed Fulani herders. Lagos government denies ethnic bias in trade fair demolition. Nigeria's elections among least expensive in region. Nigerian stock market investors gain 1.8 trillion naira in September. I am Amaka Nichi. Now we move to the news in details. The United States has expressed deep concern over continued attacks on Christians and other groups in Nigeria, urging the government to take stronger action against Boko Haram and ISIS West Africa. The warning follows comments by American comedian Bill Maher highlighting rising killings of Christians. Washington says it has raised the issue with Abuja at the highest levels and is considering designating Nigeria a country of particular concern for religious freedom violations. But Nigeria's government dismissed claims of a targeted genocide, insisting terrorist attack of people of all faiths. The Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, said security forces have killed over 13,000 terrorists and rescued nearly 10,000 hostages since 2023. He added that Nigeria remains a multi-religious nation where both Islam and Christianity thrive. Meanwhile, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengassan, says it did not sign any agreement to end its strike against the Dangote refinery. Union President Festus Osifo explained that the communique announced after government intervention was issued by the Labour Minister, not agreed upon by all parties. He insisted that key issues, including the reinstatement of over 800 sacked Nigerian workers, remain unresolved. Osifo dismissed claims of sabotage against the workers and warned that Pengassan could resume its strike without notice if the refinery fails to honor resolutions. He stressed the union struggle is not about protecting Nigerian workers, not personal interest. In security matters, Armed men on Thursday invaded the Djibouti home of former local government chairman Alhaji Emilola Ghazal. Ghazal, who also publishes the Roots magazine, said 3 gunmen stormed his GRA residence around 2 a.m., forcing him to transfer nearly all the money in his bank account, leaving only 5,000 naira. The attackers also took his wife's jewelry and his ash-colored car before fleeing. Ghazal said he has reported the incident to the police at Igbegba and Obalende. The robbery comes amid rising cases of violent attacks across Ogun State. Also, residents of Kwara South have kicked against an alleged plan by National Security Advisor Nuhuru Badu and Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak to deploy migrant Fulani herders armed with AK-47 rifles to tackle insecurity. Sources told reporters that the proposal raised at a recent security meeting in Ilorin drew strong opposition from Fulani leaders and locals who warned it could worsen kidnappings and attacks. Stakeholders instead called for restrictions on grazing after 5 p.m. and the empowerment of local vigilantes and hunters. Some residents accused the government of arming outsiders while sidelining indigenous security groups. The controversy follows a string of killings, kidnappings, and the murder of local Miyetti Allah leaders allegedly for aiding vigilantes. Miyetti Allah associations have denied being armed, dismissing the allegations as propaganda, but critics insist bringing in Bororo's migrant herders, often accused of violence, risk deepening distrust and further destabilizing the state. In a case that cast a shadow on Nigeria's image abroad, a 43-year-old Nigerian, Tochukwu Albert Nebocha, has been extradited from Poland to the United States to face charges in a multi-million-dollar inheritance scam. U.S. prosecutors say the scheme, which ran for over 5 years, tricked elderly Americans with fake letters about non-existent inheritance from Spain. Victims were forced to pay taxes and fees but never received any money. Nebocha now faces up to 20 years in prison if convicted. 2 accomplices from Portugal and the UK have already been jailed for their roles in the fraud. The News at 3 is coming to you live from Aneke TV. Remember, you can follow us on all social media feeds on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and here on YouTube, all at Aneke TV. Now, a quick reminder of major developments in the news. U.S. warns Nigeria over attacks on Christians. Pengassan wants strike may resume. Gunmen rob ex-Ogun local government chairman. Kwara residents reject alleged deployment of armed Fulani herders. Still to come in the news, Lagos government denies ethnic buyers in trade fair demolition. Nigerian stock market investors gain 1.8 trillion naira in September. Please stay with us.
Hello, I'm Debra Wakoba. I am Chidimike Mede.
I am Uche Osai.
I'm Chiwendo Ifeanyi.
My name is Obina Samson.
Please keep watching Aneke TV, or you can visit us on our socials like Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, or YouTube, all at Aneke TV.
This is Aneke TV. We move with the world.
You're still watching the News at 3 on Aneke TV. Moving over to still on the local news, the Lagos State government has dismissed claims that the demolition of illegal structures at the trade fair complex targeted any ethnic group. Commissioner for Fiscal Planning, Olumide Oluyinka, said during an interview that the exercise was purely about enforcing planning laws, not ethnicity. He explained that many structures lacked approval and violated safety standards. Oluyinka noted that defaulters had long been notified, recalling how officials were harassed and detained while serving notices last year and earlier this year. He also blamed the trade fair management for leasing land to third parties without regard for regulations, adding that the complex was plagued by blocked drainage, refuse and poor infrastructure. The demolition, which began September 25, was carried out by the state's planning and building agencies. In other news, the Perin Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa, PACA, says Nigeria spends only about $8 per voter on elections, making its polls among the least expensive in West Africa. Executive Director Ezenwa Nwago disclosed this at a town hall meeting in Sokoto, citing ECOWAS data to debunk claims that Nigeria runs one of the costliest elections. He urged stakeholders to rely on facts, not misinformation. Meanwhile, the federal government has reaffirmed plans to allow Nigerians in the diaspora to vote in the 2027 general elections, describing them as key assets in shaping the country's future. In business, investors in the Nigerian stock market smiled to the bank in September, earning over 1.8 trillion naira. The boost came as the central bank's reforms, including a slight cut in the monetary policy rate to 27%, increased confidence and pushed more people towards stocks. Figures from the Nigerian exchange show that market capitalization jumped from 88.7 trillion naira in August to 90.6 trillion naira in September, while the all-share index rose by 1.7%. Top performers included Aradel, which gained almost 10%, Fidelity Bank up by 5%, Transcorp rising 8%, and Nigerian Breweries climbing 2%. However, not all stocks did well. More companies lost value than gained, with 31 losers against 28 gainers. Analysts say the market could keep improving, but warn that inflation, exchange rates, government policies, and global oil prices will play a big role in shaping investor sentiment. Still in business, the naira remained fragile on Thursday, trading at 1,483 naira per dollar at the official Nigerian foreign exchange market and 1,490 naira in the parallel market. The slim 7-hour gap shows a partial convergence between both markets compared to wider spreads seen earlier in the year. Analysts attributed the stability to modest foreign inflows, CBN interventions, and steady global dollar performance. However, they warned the calm remains fragile with demand from importers, students, and travelers still strong. Short-term focus suggests the naira may hover between 1,480 naira to 1,495 naira officially and 1,485 naira to 1,500 naira in the parallel market, depending on dollar supply and policy signals. Heading to the world of sports, Golden Eaglets coach Manu Gaba has criticized the Confederation of African Football (CAF) for limiting the West African Football Union Zone B WAFU B to just 2 qualification slots for the Under-17 AFCON. This follows Nigeria's 2-0 loss to Ghana in the WAFU B semi-final in Ivory Coast, which ended their hopes of qualifying for the 2026 Under-17 AFCON and FIFA Under-17 World Cup. Gaba, who led Nigeria to Under-17 World Cup titles in 2007 and 2013, described their location as unfair, insisting WAFU B is Africa's strongest zone and should have at least 3 slots. With Nigeria out, Ghana and Ivory Coast will represent WAFU B at the 2026 tournament. Still in sports, Holy Survivors HS Football Club of Alimosho sealed the 2025 Independence Cup title with a dominant 3-0 victory over Hendricks FC at the Ikpaja Ayabo Youth Development Center on Nigeria's 65th Independence Day. Starman Damilola Pedro Akinola backed 2 goals and an assist, earning both the tournament's top scorer 7 goals and MVP awards. Abidin also scored in the first half to put HS firmly in control. Holy Survivors FC took home 600,000 naira prize money, while Hendricks received 400,000 naira and the Fair Play Award. Convener Bolaji Taimiyu said the competition launched in 2020 continues to spotlight grassroots talent, with past participants moving on to professional football. Despite finance challenges, Tiamiyu said the tournament remains a platform for young stars to connect with clubs and agents. In the world of entertainment, Nigerian singer Adekunle Gold has released his 6th album, Fuji, a project he says is a tribute to one of Nigeria's oldest and most influential sounds. Speaking in Paris, Gold described Fuji as the soundtrack of Lagos, noting its role in shaping Afrobeat. The 38-year-old, also known as AG Baby, blends traditional Yoruba rhythms with modern R&B, continuing a global push similar to Burna Boy and Davido. The new album reflects his personal journey with songs on grief, love, and family. I talk about losing my father, my love life, my daughter. It's an emotional journey, he said. Gold, signed to Def Jam, gained international traction with Party No Dey Stop, featuring Zinoliski, and he's worked with Nile Rodgers and Pharrell Williams. Despite living in the US, he insists, my heart is in Lagos. I'm spreading the culture, talking about my heritage. Beyond music, the artist has launched a foundation to support treatment for sickle cell disease, which he has battled all his life. And that's all on the news at 3. To end the news, here are the main points. The United States has expressed deep concern over ongoing attacks on Christians in Nigeria. Residents of Kwara South oppose the alleged deployment of armed migrant Fulani herders to tackle insecurity. Meanwhile, a 43-year-old Nigerian Tochukwu Albert Neboche has been extradited from Poland to the U.S. to face charges in a multi-million-dollar inheritance scam. That ends the news. For breaking news and eyewitness reports, please call 0703-043-7110, or you can send a message across all our social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and right here on YouTube, all at Aneke TV. I am Amaka Nneji. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, I'm Bebra Wakoba. I am Aneke Mede.
I am Uche Osai.
I'm Chinwendo Ifeonwankwe.
My name is Obina Samson.
Please keep watching Aneke TV, or you can visit us on our socials like Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, or YouTube, all at Aneke TV.
This is Aneke TV. We move with the world.
Close your eyes. Let the years roll back. Echoes of the past, taking you back in time, where every story shines like a sweet old rhyme. From classic hits to faces we've missed, from golden days to timeless bliss. It's not just memories, it is a journey through the moment that made us. Echoes of the past, the stories that last, on your Throwback Thursday, bringing back the past. Only here on Aneke TV, where yesterday lives again. Imagine Nigeria in the 1940s, a country ruled by colonial masters, where women's voices were hushed, where politics was a man's game. Now imagine one woman, elegant, fearless, sharp as blade, standing in the marketplace, rallying women with songs and laughter, then walking straight into parliament, daring men to take her seriously. That woman was Margaret Ebo. But behind her striking Ankara rappers and her fairy speeches lay stories history books rarely tell, of resilience, loss, fashion, strategy, and even imprisonment. This is not just a biography. This is a story of the lioness who roared in silence so Nigerian women could one day speak freely. Hello and welcome. This is Echoes of the Past right here on Aneke TV with Amaka Nneji. Born July 27, 1914 in Creektown, Cross River, Margaret Ebo's childhood was marked by loss. She lost her father, a churchman, early on. Yet her widowed mother insisted she continue school. Margaret's mother sold fish to keep her daughter in school. It was from those market trips that Margaret first learned the power of women's solidarity. Margaret trained as a teacher and in 1938 married Dr. John Ebo. But history often disguises destiny. While her husband worked in hospitals, Margaret sat on medical meetings. She noticed something disturbing. Nigerian doctors, brilliant and skilled, were excluded by colonial officials. Margaret would later confess to her daughter that it was at one of those hospital meetings that she swore to herself, "One day, I will sit where they sit, not as a wife, but as a leader." Margaret's entry into politics didn't begin in a parliament. It began in the market. She realized that women traders, though uneducated, control the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy. So she built alliances with them, teaching them about politics through stories. songs, and market gossip. What history often forgets is that her political meetings were deliberately disguised as cultural dances. She would invite women under the pretense of music and fashion, only to rally them about taxes, rights, and elections. That was Margaret Ekpo, turning everyday life into political strategy. By the late 1940s, Margaret Ekpo's influence spread beyond Aba and Calabar. She collaborated with Fumilayo Ransom Kuti in Abeokuta, and together they shook the colonial establishment. She joined the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroon's NCNC, led by Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. But unlike many politicians of her time, Margaret carried women to the heart of politics. In 1953, when she led women to a rally in Enugu, over 3,000 market women showed up in matching headscarves. The colonial police had never seen anything like it. That was the day British colonial officials began calling her the woman who mobilizes armies without guns. Margaret Ekpo weaponized fashion. She believed that a woman's wrapper was her armor. And she wore hers with deliberate flamboyance. To her, every bold color was resistance, every head tie a crown. She once arrived at the Eastern House of Assembly in a wrapper so dazzling that a male politician muttered, "She dresses like a queen." Margaret replied, "And I legislate like one too." By 1961, Margaret Ekpo was elected to the Eastern Regional House of Assembly. She became one of Nigeria's first female legislators, but history can be cruel. The turbulence of the 1966 coup and the civil war that followed silenced her voice. During the war, she was detained by the military government. Few know this, but her daughter later revealed that Margaret used her time in prison to teach young women prisoners how to read and write. Even in chains, she empowered. After the war, Margaret Ekpo withdrew from frontline politics, but she never stopped inspiring. In 2001, Calabar Airport was renamed Margaret Ekpo International Airport, a permanent reminder that she took Nigerian women from the marketplace to the legislature. Each of these women walks on the path Margaret cleared. Margaret Ekpo lived until the age of 92, passing away on September 21, 2006. But her spirit still lingers. In every ballot cast by a Nigerian woman, in every political meeting where women sit at the table, and in every marketplace where women raise their voices without fear. She was not just a politician. She was a wife, a mother, a fashionista, a strategist, a prisoner, and above all, a pioneer. Margaret Ekpo proved that politics was not a man's business. It was everybody's business. And that's all we have for you today on Echoes of the Past right here on Aneke TV with Amaka Niji. Join us again next week, same time, same station. Bye for now.
Mama, we go to the
Hello,